Welcome back to the Think conversation. Still with me is Xolani Qubeka. What can South Africa harvest from the G20 presidency, especially with regards to SMME development? I'm focusing on SMME because I know that's your passion area. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, some of these big techs conferences that take place, they become talk shop. We've had BRICS so many times in this country. We are yet to harvest what we may have learned. An example is just South Africa Inc. in itself. It has member countries of BRICS that are visionaries and their economies are developing well. But South Africa hasn't learned anything from BRICS, as it were. And BRICS is, of course, focuses on the economy, etc., whereas G20 focuses, on policy, as it were. I sit on B20, which is B20 on the task team on finance and investment, as it were, and we have just now got the final draft. Where for me, I would think we could harvest. We could look at policy which should be continent-wise, that places SMME development at the epicenter of economic development. When we talk about economic growth, it is unlikely that we will bleed the current economy in this economic model to as we aspire for economic growth. It will not happen. We need to unleash those people who are sitting home, those SMMEs that require massive funding, because it takes a lot of money to make money, And I will make an example, because I want to make this bold statement, is that I don't think as government, since the last 30 years, the government has placed its heart on growing SMMEs or even growing black business, as it were. We have got all of these policies that require appeasement from black business, the very people who own the economy, as it were. And until our government stop apologizing and focusing on developing a new cadre of entrepreneurs, of industrialists, as it were. And Minister Pakstow is beginning, I think, to take a different direction with that 100 billion fund, because we need much more of that. And I met some of the adversaries of BEE and make this example that, if we had 100 billion, it will make such an impact in the next 10 years. And I made an example. Adrian Gore, the founder of Discovery, way back in 1992, without any guarantees, was given, was loaned 250 million rands to start Discovery. 250 million at the time, from, I think, Rand Merchant Bank, if I remember well. From that 250 million today, Discovery is a global company. Its market cap is about 46 billion rands. Now, if you then take that example and take the 100 billion rands and place it on business cases that are bankable by black people in particular, and they get all the adequate support, you will begin to see the trigger of the economy, as it were. For now, this BEE and point scoring and that we have got to comply, it doesn't take us anywhere. It has made a contribution. I cannot deny the impact of black economic empowerment, even from ordinary women who started a cleaning company, they benefited from BE because we seem to ignore that there are thousands of people who would not have got the opportunities. But from a higher level of impact, where today we're supposed to have at least about 80, 90 big black-owned companies that are able to absorb SMMEs.
Let me take this comment you have made and say there's a national dialogue which is about to begin. And President Beki in his birthday spoke about what are the expectations for the sectors to do at that national dialogue. What are those issues that you think black business, organized or unorganized, black business should bring to the national dialogue? Because the national dialogue is expected to allow South Africa to reimagine itself into the future after what it has done in the past 30 years. You know, we have imagined ourselves in the Constitution, but we now need to reimagine ourselves beyond that. What would you take to a national dialogue as organized or whatever business, to especially black business?
Well, you see, for me, I'll answer you, but first, if a concept needs to have national value, even if it contains empowering black people, it must be it must be appetizing even to white people. White people must be able to imagine a new South Africa where black people are the wealthiest. That's what we must take. Because for me, we must deal with national interest. To me, what is the national interest? How do we place significant equity of the economy at the hands of the majority of the people? If we take that and we have a consensus as South Africa in terms of placing significant equity of the economy at the hands of the majority, and don't call them black or white, but at the hands of, and with all sectors of the economy, black and white, we converge around how do we do that. Then we are talking. But for as long as BEE is still a black thing, it needs to be a national thing that is embraced more by white people than black people.
So are you saying the national dialogue should talk about economic growth and look at taking equity of that, a significant part of that economic growth? The equity should be in the hands of the majority. South Africa must imagine that reality.
Yes, we must imagine that reality, that if we have a 6 trillion economy, of which 60% is still held by overseas conglomerates through the stock exchange, we must imagine a 12 trillion economy in 20 years where black people are the dominant and everybody is prosperous, because then white people will be more prosperous. That is what we must imagine. But we mustn't go, there's black business, we want this. We must all, as a nation, in national dialogue, imagine a prosperous South Africa, and where even a sweeper, is got to matric somebody who sweep. To the extent that everyone is educated in this country, everyone is prosperous in this country, every home has got, doesn't have just bread, but they also have butter and jam.
Okay. Now, over the past 30 years, you have been in several conversations about economic reform or transformation. I know you have been in meetings with Tito Mboweni when you are still head of ANC Economic Committee. Up until now, you are still interacting with Minister Pakstow. I know how you are involved and passionate into these things. But what would you say are those two things that you see a consistent non-implementation of, and you know if they can be implemented, this thing can turn around?
Well,
just two. Choose your two best ones. Yeah.
For me, the first key thing is access to finance. It is the major inhibitor, and low cost finance, as it were. The cost of financing this country is just too high, And we need to open up the financial institutions, because right now it is hogged by the major five banks, as it were. They control, and there's been a deliberate frustration of black-owned initiatives in the banking center. I mean, when we were at FABCOS, we back in the early 90s, we created Future Bank, out of the balance sheet of SAPTA, which was Second Bank Tax Association. Their debt in West Bank, and between SAPTA and West Bank, we created Future Bank using the 300 million book of SAPTA members, as it were, and we succeeded. In the same vein, we created.
We've got 1 minute.
Okay, we created insurance companies and all of those.
Okay.
So we need to do that. Secondly, we need to relax our labor laws as far as SMMEs are concerned. There should be a higher threshold, perhaps from a turnover of 5 million downwards. There should be relaxation on tax in order to instigate and get those companies to grow into the next level.
But that brings us to the end of the Thinc conversation with Xolani Qubeka for today. In this edition of the Thinc conversation, my sincere thanks to you, XQ, for sharing your insights and for contributing to what we hope will be a much broader and ongoing national dialogue. It will be ideal to hear other perspectives on this issue. Until next time, I'm Lucky Mathebula from the Thinc conversation.